Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your most humble host, Mr. David Knoll, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. I greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the blessings from the universe. Now, with that, hello to all of you out there. Michelle, Jazzy, hi, Ed, again. Jazzy, Jazzy Fi. Evening, Michelle. I'm just gonna kind of sort of, you know, babble on for a minute or two. I know there probably will be other people coming in. This isn't though so much as for the live stream as it is for the message that I need to get out of my head because it's making me crazy. Ian, how are you? For the last week or so, I've been having these images and dreams and messages, and I'm like, they're like, if you don't, we're just going to keep this up, and all we want you to do is do a video and have a little discussion. So my reluctance to speak on behalf of the 72 or to speak on behalf of Dante is not my position. Okay. I make this disclaimer in that, as far as I'm aware of, okay, I have had no direct contact with the cause, the Charistus, or Dante, but I do have what I consider to be my angel messages or my spirit guide. And it's been on the same subject here for quite a few days now. And as much as I've tried to resist it, it's like, okay, I have to give into this and have this discussion. So there are many of you out there who may not know. Hi, Doug. Who Dante is, Dante Santori. I'm not going to go into him or, he's had many videos out there. The Alien Races book is what first started, my understanding of who Dante was. And so I've been at this for quite a long time. Now, the fact that they reposted one of my videos way back when, I guess I understand enough that I can speak on what I know, okay? So what I do know is that everybody on this planet is under siege from so many different levels. And that if we continue seeking where the problem is, it's going to drive us nuts, okay? We have to understand, through the Alien Races book, and I'm going to have another video on that entirely separate from this. I'm going to Duggar, he's here. Hi, Bog. I got to put my glasses on. Bog K, good evening from BC, Canada. Um, Blessings to you from up in the Northwest. I used to know folks up in, oh golly, up in Alaska, and I can't remember the name at the moment where the Tlingit live. But anyway, a lot of noise on it. Sorry about the dog barking. ARB is amazing. I found your channel from DS Channels. Well, thank you, Jazzy. So, in speaking on that, I feel like I have a little bit of permission, and I'm not going to relate anything that isn't already out there. Okay. Hi, Jody. How are you? But they are telling me through my dreams and messages the last few days, it's like, with all the commotion and everything that's going on, the people are losing faith. And of all the things, in my humble opinion, that Dante and the Christus and the cause and what it means, okay, is simply to believe in the goddess, to believe in the she, to believe in the creator, you know, and to have respect and honor for each other and for the mother of all things. And so, whether it be for me, as many of you know, I've had several visions of Mother Mary, having nothing to do with Catholics, okay? It's the individual. But anyway, I can't say that this is a message from her or through her, but there's this tingling of essence in there. It's like, speak on this. And so the speak on this is that so many people are having their faith being tried, okay? They don't know which way to turn, who's right, who's wrong. What is the true message? You know, who should I believe? What should I believe? You know, the Pope's doing one thing and that thing and the other thing. And I'm not going to get into any kind of individual conversations about this because this is a general overall, let's look at the big picture here. And so one of the things that we have to immediately believe in, whether you believe in the Christus or the cause or Dante or Azazel or any of that, doesn't matter. What we must do is look at the facts, okay? And so there are, you know, there are alien races that have been here for millions of years, okay? The reptilian races had a very, very hard stronghold on this planet for a long time. There are many races who've come, gone, many that have stayed. There are a lot of different races that are descendants, if you want to say from the gods, but that's the wrong terminology. We have to understand that we are a product of alien races. We have to understand that all this missing link and all this stuff with the apes and all that kind of stuff is just sheer nonsense. So you say, well, what's that got to do with spirituality or the cause or whatever? It's because what we think is just right here. It's in a lot of places. There are a lot of folk from around the universe that would love to come here and help us, but the mater, who are some really, really nasty beings. They have no sense of right or wrong, only that they must conquer and subdue and kill and eat or whatever it is that they want to do. That's it. And you know, they are not liked by a lot of races in the universe, by most. Okay, they try to avoid them. The other one is the Vlash. Now, if you remember the movie V or the series, that pretty much kind of leads you in that direction. Okay. So, you know, there are Republicans, you know, who are part of the Vlash and the reptilians. You know, we know about the Bushes, you know, and several of them, and Rumsfeld and some other folks. And those names are in the Alien book, by the way. And thank you. I can't remember who sent it to me. Elderberry. Yeah, I'm early. Yes. Oh, it's 10:23. Well, I wanted to say, let's smoke if you got them, just because. Okay. So I'm not trying to, you know, promote this or shove it down your throat, but in the grand scheme of understanding what's going on in your universe, you have to be able to accept many of these other things. Otherwise, you're only going to go down this little tiny, little narrow path. Now, in my discussions, peace pipe here. I don't know, but let me throw this in here. The Schumann resonance was nuts the last day or so. Has anybody looked at it? Oh my God! At the end, it's got this really strange curve. I got to say, whatever we're getting hit with, and however the planet is reacting to it, it's really strange. And you know me, I've been watching this for a long time. But this isn't about the Schumann. But the Schumann proves that there are things going on in the universe that are above and beyond our control. We have to accept that, not be scared of it. It's like the folks in Australia are having, parts of Australia are flooding big time. Well, it is flooded around here big time. I'm not, I still got water in my backyard. Thank you. We got rain coming here in a couple of hours, which is supposed to dump another half to, maybe an inch or more of rain. But anyway, we have to understand the bigger picture in order to understand where our spirituality lies in this. What do I have faith in? I have faith in the Creator. It isn't a God. It's not in a palace. It isn't about going to heaven and going through the pearly gates. Um, it has been suggested in many different cultures that the sins of your life. Now you can make them up. If you make amends to the best that you can. I mean, even to the robber that was dying on the cross beside Christ. He said, if you believe, come with me. And he said, why not? Okay, I'm sorry for my sins, and I wish that I had not done those things, regardless of whether or not he was dying on a cross. But to the point that, and the other guy was like, screw it, right? I've met some of those people. No matter what, I'm dying this way. They're not going to get me at the last minute. I'm not buying into your stuff. Okay. So the idea that the spirituality has been woven through all of these different cultures is very important. Now, there are folks who, well, the Anunnaki and these people and that people and blah, 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 who did what. Now, to the point, though, there is, the Anunnaki when they were here the last time, and they're supposed to come back. I was looking at a different documentary, and in it was like, and the winged ones will be back. At some time in the future, those with wings will be back. So there's been a lot of pictures in the last 10 years of beings that look like, they got wings over a city or over a place, and it's like, guess what? Some of these folks are back. Now, not necessarily the Anunnaki, but they have been involved in this, all right? And supposedly there really is a Planet X or a Nibiru. And apparently it is way out there in our solar system out there, along with a lot of other stuff that we don't see or they don't tell us about. Okay, let's put that straight. So, but anyway, with all of that said, though, do we have to believe in the destruction of things? The answer is yeah, up to a point. Could an asteroid hit the planet? It could. Could we have a solar flare? It's happened before that just, fried, back in the 1800s, they burned all the telegraph wires when that Carrington event, as they call it, happened back then. Could it happen again? Absolutely. We have to just understand that we live on a planet in a solar system. Okay. We have to accept these certain things. And what's that got to do with spirituality? A lot, because the more that you understand the bigger picture, it's not that you worry about what these folks are doing or what these people are doing over there. That's not the point. Why are I here this time? What is my job this time around? And they replayed something for me the other day, and it's something that I don't really like to remember because it was really, grotesque. But the story of when I listened to the angels and they told me to go into Moultrie, I did. Went to Walmart, did some things. They kept saying, "Okay, it's almost time. Okay, go over here." All right. So I followed my instincts through this. And on the way home that night, it was in December, at least 10 years ago, or maybe even 15. But anyway, on the way home, there was this accident, and a gentleman had run into the guardrail. It had went through his truck, through the grill, past the engine, severed several things, cut his leg off, and proceeded to project. There was this much of the bumper in the bed of the truck. Okay. And the only reason that he didn't bleed out was because the heat from the um, the steel going through him, it actually cauterized his wounds. Well, we Tim pulled him out of the truck, and I immediately started treating him for shock. We did everything that we could. I know I was ready to, put a tourniquet on his leg, but I noticed it wasn't bleeding out. So, and understand, I'd never been around something like this before. So we stayed there until the ambulance came and the cops came and everybody came, and I helped hold his bloody stump, and while they wrapped it up, and we put him in the ambulance. Now I know that the angel sent me there that night to save that man's life because the truck was on fire. So I've looked back at that and said, I could have stayed home that night, and what would have happened to that man? Now, consequently, through my adopted daughter, you've heard me talk about her and my adopted grandfather. Hey, David Castle, Doug. Oh, Paul Joe, how are you? Elderberry, David Castle. If I missed anybody, blessings to y'all. So, but anyway, through this ordeal, I've reflected back on it over the years, and don't like to look at that picture, but they reminded me the other day. They said, Hawkeye, we gave you instructions and you followed it. You did what we asked you to do, to go into town at a weird time of night, to hang around. And when I went to my friend Marcy's, the the microwave oven kept flashing numbers, and it was 431 431. And the third time, my friend Marcia said, "You got to go, whatever it is, you got to go." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And apparently, we were the only people on that road for an hour, other than the police or somebody. So that person would have burnt to death or something until somebody had come to see him, because it took him 20 minutes before the sheriff showed up, and then the ambulance. Okay. And that wasn't that far out of town. Why am I telling this story? Is because they're telling me that I followed my instructions. My spirit guide, my angel said, you're on a mission, and this is one of them. And you have to believe, 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 believe. I never would have dreamt in my lifetime that I would have to, went to town for no reason at all, except that on the way home, we saved a man's life. And so they remind me of that, not in the gory details, but in that, you see, Hawkeye, you believed us and you went into town. That was one of your missions while you were here. And I stop and go, oh, holy shit, wow. Now that's heavy duty for me. So, but if we follow, what it tells me though, is when we follow our instincts, and not on the bad side, rape and kill and murder, but if we follow our instincts on things, and if we have faith and believe, had no idea what the mission was, but I believed in it. And to this day, I look back on it and go, I did believe, didn't I? And they were like, yep. So my own personal, why am I here? You may not know what is expected of you for tomorrow. You may have already had, I'm not saying that you saved someone's life, but because to me, that's really extreme, but it's the truth. And so it amazes me, because every single one of us, whether we understand what our mission here is, the people who work for the cause or are the cause or are with the cause is love and honor and peace on earth and the Christ consciousness. And, so what do we do with this knowledge? we take it into our hearts and we believe it, believe it, believe it, believe it. There are entities and interdimensional entities that are trying to intervene now because the war has gotten so, so weird. But war makes strange bedfellows, you know what I mean? So the Flash and the Mater are having it out themselves. And you could look at the Republicans and some of the Democrats, and they've both sold out, but some of them are more reptilian or more this or more, and yes, it really is true. So, but it's not about, that they're all reptilians, that they're all bad. It's like we have to look at those of us who are good. Okay. Now, I don't support any of these folks. In the last few weeks and watching the news and people falling up and down stairs and, remarks to the VP. I mean, why is she always around? Isn't it just strange? It's weird. But because never before has the Prez and VP traveled a lot together. They usually kind of stay separate in case anything happens to one or the other of them. Just saying. So it's a little odd, but anyway, I continue. But we have to scratch our heads and go, these folks, whatever their agenda is, they've laid it out to us. And we have to understand it. So do we participate in it? And the answer is no. Now, we have to associate with it when we need to. We got to buy groceries, we have to keep a job, those are things that we have to, we got to mingle with them, and not everybody's bad. We know that. So those folks who are in positions are there because they have been destined to be there, to take over these positions so that these larger groups can do what they want. So when you understand that as the bigger picture of things, it's not about this person or that one or this one or that one. It isn't. It's all of them. They're all nuts in the head, and they're showing it to you. The veil, if you believe in the Bible at all, in Revelations, the Apocalypse, and it's all about the lifting of the veil. Revelations. What does that mean? It's revealing itself. And we look around and there's everybody's taking pictures of spaceships. I mean, the cloud formations, people are aware. And so, this is our awakening. And some of these folks are nasty. Okay. Some of them actually look to me, they look like some of the War of the World critters with the tentacles, that's one of the races in the Alien Races book, by the way. To me, they look like big jellyfish in the ocean with tentacles coming down. And they like the water too, by the way. So we have to understand that these folks are really here. And for whatever reason, okay, and to me, it is to liberate the planet Earth. But if we as people on this planet don't wake up to what's really going on and take part in going, you know what? I have this information. This information is going to make me stronger. There is a group of angels, literally, that are working on our behalf to save our scrawny asses, along with other folk, to save our scrawny asses. And they're giving their lives every day working for the cause or working with the cause. Now, my Silent 72 that I published maybe 2 years ago or more now has been that there are a lot of us. And I told this story about the saving that gentleman's life. We didn't save his leg, but we saved his life. And my adopted daughter, it was her cousin. It was her cousin's husband who had a little girl. So in that, I actually knew through family. I didn't know this person, but I saved a family member in a way, So we never know what's going to come to us and what we're going to be asked to do. And did I want to hold up this bloody man's leg? No. But the spirit within me said, he needs you right now, and you just can't be worried about that kind of stuff. There's no one around. You're the guy. You were sent here to help this man. Okay. So, but I consider what happened to us to be extreme, but it might be something that isn't that extreme in saving, but you could save someone's life by something else. Maybe not pulling them out of a burning truck with a missing leg, but that there's something else that you can do. And that's for me, I'm still working for the cause, because the angels may ask me, like they've been kicking my butt the last couple of days, to do this video, and I have resisted. Oh my God. And they're making my stomach upset. And I'm like, you gotta talk about this, Dave. So am I talking? And I'm not trying to promote Dante. That's not it. Although I have the highest respect, I just can't explain. But you have to take what you see on your own. And there is a YouTube video at the channel called The Cause. Okay, just check it out. So, but it's up to you to believe or to see where the lines are connected. And but in the 72 plus, the silent ones, and I consider, I got my leg broken playing football in my freshman year. Yeah, freshman year. And so simply, and I had a cast on. The last time was for over a year. I had to have a cast on my leg because of the operation and what had happened. But I got to say, after all these years, I have function in my leg. The doctor was a Catholic and a miracle worker. God bless him. A few years ago, he was still alive, and apparently still, he's a bone doctor, and just bless him. Anyway, so there are healers who help to heal me. There are those folk who spend a few moments of their time to help guide me, and if I listen. So what do? You listen to those honest and to the elders that are around you. And some of them are piss poor and screaming and hollering and, this, and this. But there might be a little smidgen of truth in there without all the anger and the pointing of the finger and that kind of thing. Just saying. Because people are really, really, bizarrely messed up right now. Okay. So, but with understanding, and I'm going to do a separate video about the ARB book. I'm going to read it. I can't share the pictures, but I might hold the book up, or I don't have a book. But anyway, I'm going to discuss it and discuss what is said in the alien races book, sort of quotes from other alien races. Okay. And it has been said by many in the book, and the book's been out there for quite a while, that the time between 2017 and 2023, we're going to be like, whatever it is, it's going to be make it or break it. And to some of the races, they feel like we'll survive this episode, but in the long run, mankind will not survive. Now, I don't know what that means. But, for our grandchildren and their children and children's children, Moody Blues, for our children's children. I wish I could remember how the music went, but, Moody Blues. So if you've never listened to the Moody Blues, smoke you one, put on some headphones and, have a trip. And you got lots of choices. But anyway, now, that we have, DVDs and online music, you don't have to get up and go flip the album over. Just saying. But the idea, though, that our connection to the universe is so much more than just this tiny little planet and our miserable little lives down here, and how much we bitch and complain about everything. But if you see what's going on, it's sort of like, they live, you put on the glasses And there's one, there's one, there's one, you know, eyes that glow in the dark. There's a good sign. Lots of other creepy things. But to the point though, when I understand, here's my tidbit of an example. I've been in the woods and the swamps for so long because I've practiced it. I went down in the woods and I went over here when the water was up and the water when there wasn't any water. I've walked the creek bank when there was like this much water in the bottom, and barely flowing. Hey, Mossy Man. Delaney, how are you? Anybody else that I missed at the moment? Nope. Okay, David, did you ever follow Dante on Google Plus? Yes, back in the day, Bob. By the way, and the interesting thing is that there are things that I knew on my own, and then when I started watching Dante years ago, I was like, oh shit, I learned about this back in the 70s. I've talked about Sister Helene. And the last time I had my visions here in the house was with Mary, Sister Helene, and the third nun was I think it was Teresa. But anyway, she was at the Fatima. She was one of the three children, and the three of them showed up here in my house to tell me to get off my ass and do this task. Now I've known about Dante, but I didn't understand what my Mary association to the goddess, if you will, and also my association with an entity I've called White Dove, who taught me Indian ways, who taught me to understand about human nature, and to keep my mouth shut and to listen more. I mean, there's just so much. And then I realized that it wasn't some old guy coming and talking to me. You know what I mean? It was a woman's influence who sat down with me and said, listen, Hawkeye, blah, 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 blah. Now, I have met many medicine men on this planet, and I think also in my dreams, because I sort of drew a picture of one years ago, and it came back in my dreams again. So, and I think that I was some kind of a Heyoka shaman a long time ago out in the plains area. But needless to say, it's like, so, but this is my journey. Well, here's the thing. Many of us have chosen to come back here and to fight for the planet Earth, to fight for humanity, to fight for the right to be at one with the universe. It has nothing to do with worshiping. Okay, let me put that perfectly clear. There is no worship in this. It is your divine understanding of the divine. That's it. You honor in what you do, you honor the cause of love and peace and unity, to help someone when they're down. Now, if they just refuse to help themselves, you can help up to a point. And we have to understand that within our compassion, there are those who are leeches, and then there are those who honestly need a helping hand. Had I not had a helping hand over the years when I got out of jail and this and that, you've heard me talk about other stuff. If I hadn't had a helping hand somewhere along in there, I would probably be in jail for some of this shit that they charged me with. It wasn't the quantity, it was that they wanted to give me 20 years. Anyway, to the point though. So, what is this understanding of what your job is? Now, that's up to you. But here's the thing. The single most thing, whether you believe in Dante, but you got to admit, we didn't just pop in here, okay? There's a lot of evidence about floods and earthquakes. There are, I've known for a long time about the underwater city and the steps and things that they videotaped back in the 60s, I believe. And then there was big, oh no, those aren't real. What the hell they ain't, off of Bimini down in the Bahamas and down in there, Puerto Rico. So, but anyway, so there is evidence of a lot of stuff that's happened to this earth. Okay. And we have to understand that this stuff could still happen. Okay. There's enough radiation on this planet left over from all the nuclear tests that were performed. There's enough radiation that came across the United States and dropped on us. They didn't tell anything about that, right? Well, all that radiation fell out of the atmosphere as it blew up over in Nevada and came eastwards, because that's the prevailing winds. So we all got radiated back in the 50s and 60s, and when they were then they put it underground. Well, come on. So what did that do to the planet? You follow? But anyway, trying not to get off on any kind of tangents, but all of these things are connected. And we have to understand that there are some really nasty rodents that live under us and who have been trying to control us for a long time because they think they're better than us, period. We are cockroaches to them, okay? And some of us, in a lot of ways, are cockroaches. We scurry around and do this thing, and we scurry when the lights come on, But I'm just civilization has taught us to be this way. But there are people living in other countries and things that they don't fight with their neighbors. There's not a lot of killing and shooting and stabbing and stuff. These people honor and respect each other. And some of these bloodlines go way, way, way back. Okay. Now, those of us who got, stranded over here on Turtle Island, I'm kidding, but, it may seem that because a lot of our old blood didn't necessarily come from here. Now, mine did because of the Native American background. But there's, some English and this and that mixed in there too, right? So it ain't all of one culture. I've talked about, that it's very possible I was related to Robert E. Lee, and that goes back, through the colonies, back to England, and all the way back to France. So God knows where my true bloodline is, but, this stuff has been scattered, okay? I feel my true tradition is through Mother Earth, okay? And through the idea that all things teach us. So, but if you don't know that there are snakes in the swamp, then you go plodding through you don't know the signs. Okay. You don't look for the signs. There are people who step over a log and there's a snake on the other side of the log and they get bit. So what you do, if you can, is you step on the log and look over it so you make sure you don't step on a snake. Okay. Because the snake doesn't want to get stepped on. Right. So, but with this full point of, what does this have to do with the cause? Because whatever, regardless of what we do in life, if we're doing it with passion, we do it with love, we help out our fellow man, we want to stay out of the chaos. We have to keep an eye on it. It's part of our job. And we have to reach a level. And if this last January and so forth, and befuddlement and all of this stuff and that stuff, if we haven't been bamboozled, slamboozled, hornswoggled, and run through the ringer, who knows? Now, there are still going to be some changes in the future, and we all know that something's weird is going on. Now, so we need to sit back and not worry ourselves. Seriously, we need to take care of our daily lives and what's right around us, because that's important. Our core values, our children, our parents, our grandparents, whatever. We need to keep our core together, all right? Because in times of stress and need, you don't want to run down the street to somebody you've never met and say, here, help me, hug me, when you might have a brother or sister or a neighbor nearby that if you became more friends with and you needed assistance, Those neighbors would be the ones to come and bring you the hugs and the help and a boat or a chainsaw. When the hurricane came, there are several trees that were felled on my driveway. One of my dear friends now came over to check on me to make sure I was okay, and brought their chainsaw and cut up the logs so they could get down the driveway, but also it cleared my driveway. But anyway, so when people love each other regardless of family and become friends and share the Christ consciousness, that knowing inside, and you say, well, I'm going to follow my instincts. He came over here because he was following his instincts. He knows I'm getting old and this, that, and the other thing, and want to check on me. Now, he checked on some other people too, but him and David came over here and, cut up the logs and checked on me. Everything was good. Thank you much. you know, I'll check on you later. Okay, phones were down, so, but it was like, I got this. So when you know that there are folks around you and you understand a bigger picture, expand, it's not necessarily that you expand your core value, but you expand your awareness. So when you're aware of things, when you're walking through the woods, there are times when I'll just stop because spirit said, hang on, look down, look left, look right, and go, oh, glad I didn't take another 2 steps, for whatever reason, pothole, it just, because I was looking up and not paying attention and, could have got hurt. So, but what does this have to do with the cause? If you in your heart feel that you have that Christ consciousness. It's not about being saved. It's not about believing in the Bible, but because the Christ consciousness was in Buddha and different people, there are a lot of folks that still carry the Christ consciousness. I hope that I do. I don't think that I'm Jesus Christ, not by a long shot. I'm, me, I'm a shaman in training. But to that point, though, we have to understand, though, that our spirit journey is going to include all these other things. And the things that Dante has shown and discussed about aliens, you need to put that in your basket of understanding as yes, it exists. Yes, we have been messed with. Yes, we have been tampered with. Yes, the pyramids, as I've suspected for a long time, was a signaling device or a radio thing or an internet thing to out in space. And there's more evidence that that's truly what it's actually for. It's not all this other hogwash stuff. It was designed with certain frequencies and tonalities. But anyway, much like back in the old days, the Morse code, tap, 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 did it, did, dot, did, anyway. Had to learn it back when I was in Boy Scouts. It's very useful if you ever get into a really bad situation. And they took it off. They used to make it mandatory that, folks learned it. And they just, Morse code, we got all this good stuff. But for the sailors who were trapped in a submarine or half submerged, how did they communicate with the people outside? By banging on the side of the ship with a big wrench in Morse code, and that saved them. So you say, well, what is useful and what isn't? Understanding certain basic things, understanding that frequencies and sounds, we surround ourselves with a lot of, I know people like this, rap music and certain stuff, and there's some of it that I cannot listen to. It literally hurts me to listen to it. Now we have to understand that people have done some weird things with recordings. And I go back to the days of the Beatles, and Paul is dead if you turn the thing backwards, right? To the fact that Paul was dead. But the idea, though, that there are truths hidden in sounds, in flickers in the screen, And we understand these things. And the more we see the bigger picture, the more we can understand ourselves and how we fit in the big picture. But to each and every one of us, each of us has a cause. If you understand that in your heart, if you understand it, whether you say, "Oh, I don't know about the spaceships and all this other kind of stuff," okay, but do you believe in your heart that doing good things for mankind, sending positive energy, and following the golden rule, the number one universal rule, to do no harm, you know, defend yourselves, yes, but let's not go make war with somebody just because we want to, but we have to understand that there are beings out there who that's it. They have no other agenda. They will not go peaceably into the night. They won't give up their hands and say, "Okay, we've had enough." They're going to fight to the last man or abandon it, but basically, no. We no. They don't want us to win. But this battle has been going on back into the days of when the reptilians got into the Pharaoh ship and turned Egypt upside down. And, they blamed it all on the Anunnaki, and some of them folks, they had a part in it. But in the gist of it, though, it was infiltrated by the really nasties. And so the Catholic Church has been infiltrated by it. So many of the churches and so forth. It's not about the snakes, okay? But there is a lot of reptilian images and stuff that has been, and Egyptian stuff that went to the Vatican. So we have to scratch our head and go, these people have been doing this for thousands of years. And if you went to the Vatican, you'd look at the architecture and go, that's interesting, blah, blah, blah. Well, if you've never been to Egypt, the Egypt is in the Vatican. Why is that? Just saying. So there are bigger forces in this universe. And there are a lot of people who would just say, "Listen, I can't deal with this. It's too much stuff." And in a way, it is. There's a lot more to understand about things. And the speed of light is variable and can't be brought. There's so much stuff that's been discussed, right? And but there are certain physical things in the universe that do work, but there's a whole level of things that we don't understand yet. But it's coming because it's being seen all over the planet by all kinds of different people. And it's the different kinds of spaceships. Not all of them are good now. We got to get that in our heads. Not every one of these things that we see up in our skies. And we should not be calling them to us. Okay. There are folks out there who are like, "Well, I stand on the beach and call them." Yeah, but they might not be really, they are deceivers. Okay. I have to put that out there. They'll come across as, "Oh, yeah, we're good guys. And, come on, let us into we're going to talk to you and we come and show ourselves to you. And, bring others, show, just saying." It just, as a carny, you would do things and go into the town and go, "Hey, we're at the carnival," or, like the circus in the old days. They'd go through town with the elephant and everything. Why'd they do that? To let everybody in town know that the circus was there. Okay. So with the carnival, the town could see it at night, it drew a crowd. So, this kind of shenanigans has been going on for a long time. So, but a lot of people don't get this kind of education, I guess, that I've had in life. But in understanding that there are beings who are working for us, and our prayers actually work because they're listening. And one of the things that the aliens have said from different races, that the people on planet Earth won't wake up in time. So those of us who have paid attention and who are watching what's going on, maybe because we keep spreading it, maybe because we believe, we believe, we believe, we believe, I'm going to fight for humanity till the end. Now, I can't get out as much, but for me, doing this video took a crap load of um, kicking in the spiritual butt. Now, I appreciate everybody staying for 50 minutes. And that if there's a point in this, the point is that we must believe. All of these other things that are out there, not everything's bad. So we have to believe that there are good beings out there. We have to believe that there are entities and interdimensional beings that want to help us. But if we just want to shy everything off and get in a little cubby hole and hide, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go to war, but the war is within ourselves, because what they're trying to do is trying to crush our spirit and our soul. They are trying desperately to control our minds. I mean, some of these commercials and stuff that they're coming up with, I'm just like, are you folks not watching what I'm seeing? Being transformed right before our eyes with different stories and WandaVision, and just as a, not necessarily a warning. There are other people that are trying to tear it apart. And I say, look at the bigger picture, though. Not that there isn't smaller messages, but let's look at the bigger picture here. They can do a lot of stuff with sound waves. Now, there are people who are saying, maybe this 5G isn't as bad as they said. Listen, different frequencies of different stuff. And if they wish to change the frequency over the carrier, okay, it's like in radio. You sat in the studio and you microwaved your signal out to the tower, okay? And it was directional. Have you ever seen these antennas that, go like this and zigzag like that? And anyway, there's another one, and you point these things, okay? So you send the signal from the station out to the transmitter, to the tower. Because if you sat close to the transmitter, 100,000 watts, it would fry you, especially so. But other radio stations, the old AM stations, just had wires out to the back to the towers, okay? So, but in these transmission lines, though, so we have understood AM radio for over 150 years, back in the Tesla days and things, and about what the Earth can do, the Earth magnets, Earth batteries, the layers of energy, the higher you go up in the atmosphere. And it's not that you understand how everything works. It's what's important to understand that it's there. So you have the potential, if your desire is electronics, to check out the things. I've dabbled in that, and I've dabbled in this, and that's why I got a lot of junk around my house, because at one point I was like, well, I could use that for that, and I could use that for that. Well, time's getting shorter in my lifetime. Not that I expect to be dead tomorrow. That's not my point. But in the things that I have saved, it's like, wait, I don't actually know if I have enough time to get to that. Not to be rude or crude, but wait a minute. That's it. Now it becomes less of value to me. It's an old piece of metal, but you could, but you've had it now for the last 15 years. You ain't done nothing yet. So you think you got 15 more years, and you're gonna, I don't know. So, but I can understand where my thought process was then. And I look at it now and go, X amount of time has already passed. I haven't used this thing. And so what's this got to do with everything? So in your life, look at not what you can look at what you've done and be proud of those things that you've accomplished, even if they're small things. And have faith that there could be something greater that you do in the future. So in my life, I'm like, well, I'm not done yet. I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, but I'm going to keep the faith, and I'm going to believe, whatever it is, that I'm somehow going, because of who I am, and that I want to be a positive impact on the planet, that I'm going to continue this until my last breath. That's why I'm here. So, in your belief, whether, if you want to go for a God, okie dokie, but let's just cut to the chase and just stick with the Creator. There is no worship. There is no, it's the adoration comes from us from our good deeds. It's as simple as that. That's our prayer, is our life. Are we grumpy all the time and criticizing people, pointing fingers and doing stuff? Or we can look at that and go, wow, those people over there are arguing about that. It's like, now that's really interesting. Glad I'm not a part of it. You know, look at this, and this is going on. Do we have to get involved? Do we have to talk about it to some? Do we have to gossip? Do we have to keep that energy, whatever it is, going in the universe? Or do we see it and it stops with us? You know what I mean? So there are a lot of little tiny things that we do every single day. There are little tiny things that we can say. There are little tiny things that we can help to affect a better tomorrow. And it isn't, let's see. I was trying to think back in that when I got kicked in the butt to first start this channel, I was having a lot of issues. And then there was this little short period of time was like, okay, these three ladies appeared in my house and gave me this message and said, do this. There are people out there who need you. Okay, for whatever reason, right? You accept your mission, if that's what you want to call it. So I accept my mission. I accept that, okay. Now I could still deny it and never do another video or whatever, or, make observations or prayers, whatever the deal is, right? I could drop out, as it were. But, these last couple of days, with the energy levels and other things that I went through personally, I just realized that, wait a minute, nah, there's still more to this. Even though we may get fatigued, which is part of I have been, okay, I didn't really want to talk about this, but I will. They're saying that I should. So I've been spending too much time in the dream walk, in the shadow world. And it seems that they're telling me that I've been going to spirit school. Okay. Now, take that for what you will, but that's the easiest explanation. Now, for me, I'm sleeping too much. I really want to do things. I got stuff on outside and other things that I want to do. But here lately, they've been, nah, you got to do some spirit learning here. And I'm like, for whatever reason. So I'm like, today though, I've been praying, please, Jesus, let me wake up. I'm way too much time over there in the mystery, if you will. And they were like, so the hard part of that for me is part of my mission is to understand that it's necessary sometimes for me to go into these areas because of my brain conditions and so forth. But also they're telling me, listen, you're learning lessons here. And with what I already know and what I already feel, it's almost like I got my first merit badge. And they're like, good for you, boy. And I can't, that's a silly way to, it's like I just became a Cub Scout, not even a Boy Scout yet. And I want to learn about this stuff, right? So they give me this book and they say, okay, now you're going to be a bear, a bobcat, or a wolf. Anyway, it's a bobcat. You have, anyway, but anyway, I went through all that. So in some of these impressions and dreams or whatever I've been walking, it's sort of like, you see all those things, if you follow these steps, you're going to get a merit badge. Now, it doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. But if you were ever a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout and got to first class or second, if you went through the ranks, then it meant that you learned things along the way. that you learned how to do this, that you learned how to do that, you learned how to adapt, you learned first aid, you learned, so in that you grow in the knowing. So you receive a patch when you attain more knowledge. So I was like, it's not like you get a gold star, but I feel like I've just gotten my first patch as a Cub Scout. Okay. And it's like, I don't know how else to explain it. So, it's not that I'm part of the club. I kind of sort of knew I was part of the club all along, but it's like, here's your Bobcat patch. You know, you've actually done something and achieved it. And, it isn't a big award, but it does prove that you've done this. So I feel like I've got my little Bobcat patch on. I should look up Bobcat. Anyway, yeah, that is interesting. I should look it up. I didn't want to make this video a long one. We can have conversations in another way. Jazzy says you can boil water with sound frequencies. So mysterious things still in the world. Absolutely, Jazzy. And it may not be that I understand how to do it, but the fact that it can be done and is being done, just, it is that wow effect, So I like seeing these things because it's like somehow inside of me years ago, science is proving what nature has known all along, which is an interesting way to put certain things, right? But um, frequencies and sound, and I look at some of this stuff and I revert it to water. In that, when you go in the water, depending on where you are and what time of year, etc., there'll be thermoclines in the water, and if it's really warm outside, it might be really warm this deep, depending on where you're at. If it's a lake or if it's a river, now that changes things, but there will still be a thermocline. There will still be warmer water on the top and cooler water down in the bottom. And if you've walked a stream or anything like that, it's always feels colder on the bottom. That's because cold settles. But anyway, but when you understand these simple things in nature and how it naturally happens, it's not magic, it's just what nature is. I've talked about going into a young pine forest and seeing, the tips of the pine trees glowing. If you've ever seen that, I've done it when I was tripping, okay? But I've done it so many more times when I wasn't tripping. There have been times when I go by, I've been driving by a field out here in the country and they planted new trees and the trees are up a certain height. And I literally will hop the fence, park my truck on the road. It hasn't happened in a while, but I just wanted to run through the pine trees and feel that energy coming off of the pine needles. It's so amazing. It kind of tickles. It's great. And it's happy. I mean, happy, joy, joy. Oh my God. And so that is Mother Earth. That is the energy of the Creator. It's being projected out through the trees, and we have access to these things naturally. Where there are other things. You can create certain things with sounds. What kind of music do you play? Do you play Bach, Beethoven, or some slam head stuff? And there are some people that there were certain bands back in the day when they started getting into the headbang kind of music and some of this rap stuff. One song sounds like the other. All they do is change the lyrics. Boom, back a tune, back a boom. The songs are the same. Give me a freaking melody. And the words may be okay, but your melodies, there is no melody. It's this hard driving boom, boom, boom. And so people don't understand that those prolonged use of that is not necessarily good for you. And but it's just accepted and that's how it goes. And there are little granny ladies listening to it, and it's like okie dokie. But I'm still like, there is some stuff got a melody, got a beat, decent lyrics. But there are folks who use those sounds for other reasons, just like they do little flittering things. They still do it on the TV. They were told not to do it by the FCC back in the 50s, early 60s. You can't show these little blips of things, and trying to trick people into buying Tide. They caught them at it, right? Several times. But the feed is going so fast now with the digital, they can run lines of code across the screen and you would not be aware of it at all. It can be embedded in a movie, it could be in the soundtrack, and certain sounds with at certain times in a certain frame. And to help now for and here's my point to this. Now, I've done soundtracks for plays and things over my years, right? Done a lot of sound editing. Okay. A lot of recording, a lot of sound editing. A lot of it's in blowed hard drives from several years back. But anyway, what a mistake that was. But the idea, though, that there was so much that you could do, especially when at a really dramatic time, like, the famous scene with the knife in Hitchcock. Eh, 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 eh. You hear that sound, no matter what the movie is, you're going to go into this kind of thing, right? And you say, well, no, it doesn't affect me. Oh, okay. So it's the believing that they can do it, not that, and if you're aware of it, you can go, wait a minute, this is just, cover your ears kind of thing. And maybe you should, follow your instincts. So, just because somebody else likes it and they want to turn it up loud does not mean that you need those vibrations hitting you. Okay. So it isn't how loud, but it's the vibrations of those sounds and how, because some of those people that I know, that have got are really into this thug mentality. You follow what I'm saying? So in this thug mentality, it's reinforced through the thug type music. So they don't understand that the music is helping to reinforce this mentality. And yes, it is, and people, oh no, no, it ain't. Um, so there are people with these types of agendas. Oh, it's 11:22. Smoke if you got them. It's 4:20 somewhere. And it's been over an hour. So, but anyway, as far as the 72 plus, there are individuals are called a group of 72. There are individuals who in movies and Dante shows that many different people that like Prince was working for the cause. There are other people that were working for the cause, and Ronald Reagan was one of them. JFK was one of them. Okay. And it was right after the Choristus met with JFK in October of of 63. He was shot and killed about a month later after being visited by the Choristus and so forth. And Kennedy was a Catholic too. Um, just there are people that had the Catholic faith that weren't into what the Vatican was doing. Okay. There are people who, in the Masonic lodges, for example, they hold parades, and they, my young, well, actually, he's my cousin, but my adopted family, my brother, he had Lake Perthes disease and went to the Shriners Hospital way back in the 60s, and they took care of him for years, and it didn't cost them anything. And Danny has issues walking, but they saved his leg by catching his disease early. And but anyway, um, the Shriners aren't all bad. Not all Catholics are bad. Some of the folks that I graduated with from Tampa Catholic, I've spoken with, they have listened to this channel and when I was on Facebook and so forth. And I said, Dave, listen, I'm not a Catholic anymore, but I still work with Catholic charities and I still work for the food bank and I don't go to mass anymore and I quit, going to the confession. I still want to help, I do a charity drive or do a homeless thing. And I'm like, but he said, what the church does, he said, I don't care. And he said, so he was like, I get where you're coming from. Speaking to me, we've had conversations on the phone. And so I was like, yeah, that's my point. I'm not against organizations who do good things. You know, um, I don't know enough about the Islamic faith to make any kind of references. Okay, I can't. It's just not there for me. But I've known people with the Jewish faith, and Buddhists, and other types of folks. Agnostics. Are the Gnostics, Gnosticism issue. And that's probably, if I was like to pick a group, I'd probably would be more with them. But as you all know, I went to native traditions and what native cultures spoke about and what Mother Earth and what that was all about, because that was part of my mission this time, because I screwed up in one of my missions before. Now, there are a lot of people who don't want to accept that, you're reincarnated or whatever. And it's not so much that I was working out karma this time through. I could understand it as that, but it's more of righting a wrong, not just in trying to repay your own soul. Because I spent so much time trying to repay this karma from last time, right? That I realized, the karma stretches more than in the payback. The karma is then in the lesson that you learned this time through, and my choices that I make from the lessons that I've learned just by coming back through this time. And so when you reach that point, you go, aha, then it's like, now the next part of this is that it must be shared some way. You know, uh, those with ears will listen, those with eyes will see, and, those with a good spirit will understand, So this idea that it goes back to the ancients is that we all came from one star or another. There were groups of folks who came here for whatever their purpose, good guys and bad guys. And some of us got the good guy stuff, and some folks, unfortunately, through genetics or whatever, got some of the bad guy stuff. Now, it doesn't mean that we can't change our colors, if you will, because there are folks with the Charistus who have sold out to the other side. There are folks who have, betrayed the cause and the people and, the goddess of, of the she, the creator of the universe. Because without a mother, there would no birth, period. That's accepted. So, but it isn't about worship. I got to make that, they keep telling me that it's not about the worship, it's the understanding that she is, and that we are all working together with the love of Mother to help and heal as much as we possibly can before it's too late. Because apparently, not because of what you and I personally do, but other agendas, off world, on world, in the world, you know, all those things are true. But we should not get caught up in, oh, why are they doing this? Because they're nuts. They're alligators, for crying out loud. They're crocodiles who are even worse. So you know, don't hang out at night along the shore if you know there are gators in the area. They just might want to chomp on your leg, depending on the size. Now the gators down here have always, kept a good distance. I've never had issues with gators, even on the Hillsborough River, and Back in the day, they'd swim by down the river and we'd swim in the river. They don't do that anymore, but we did when I was growing up. So things have changed. People used to live with nature and be in nature and be a part of nature, and they felt that natural feeling, of happy. We went out and had a picnic down by the river, and gee, it was so much fun. And we sang songs and went down and played in the river, and the gator came by, and we did, everybody had a good time. Yay, we all came home, and nobody argued, and and there were other people there, and we all shared in that. I miss that a lot. And growing up as kids, we were, there were whole groups of kids that would get together, and there was never any fighting. There's once in a while there's a push or a shove, but it was like, hey man, cut it out. We're all here to, have fun. And we sorted it out ourselves. And 15, 20 kids swinging off a 50-foot rope down into a, it's all caged in on everything, but into the open springs and stuff down there in Tampa. The sinkholes, whatever, but anyway. So those days are all gone. They've closed everything off. And the way people, and part of this is that people used to congregate. Folks would, pull off the side of the road and watch us kids. It was amazing. I'm talking about 30, 40, 50 feet off the air, off the water, because the water was at least 10 foot down the bank. So when you came off the bank, the rope was a little higher than that, tied way up in this huge tree. And when you swang out and did the pendulum and went up like this, you was at least 35 feet in the air. Easy, And these guys would do these double flips, and it was amazing. Me, I just went up and just, prayed I didn't get smacked by the water too hard. But in that, there was fun, there was joy, there were people having, you know what I mean? And the kids these days don't have that joy and that fun, so it's been blocked off. And so this energy is being kept from us because we're not allowed to share and to increase our energies by interacting with other people. So we feel alone, as per a video I did before. But in that, we're not alone. There are beings everywhere, especially when we just say, hey, my guardian angel, if you're Charistus, okay, I'm working for you guys. If there's something you need me to do that I'm capable of doing, I'm there. You got me. And you don't betray somebody, especially if they're trying to work for the good side. Now, many of us who I consider who's sitting on the bench, okay. Now, I attribute this to when I broke my leg in high school, in that even though I was on crutches and in a cast, I became the manager of the football team because I loved the game that much. I couldn't play it, but I could support all of my team members. I'd take water out, I'd, fix their helmets, I learned how to tape up ankles and knees. I learned how to do physical therapy. And so I helped the team, even though I couldn't I was on crutches and couldn't walk. So I look at this as the Silent 72 as I'm not necessarily a manager, but I'm still supporting the team. I may be sitting on the bench, but if somebody needs something, I'm here. I'm supporting the team. Maybe not so much as a cheerleader, but in that we are all in this together. And so those of us who think this way and understand this, we need to stay in that faith, however it is. But remember, they're smacking me in the head with this one. It's not about worship, okay? It's not about the sacrifice is that in each of us that we do the best we can. And sometimes, did I want to go into town and hold on to a guy's leg that was, cut off? No. But in the wisdom of it all, I asked for the angels to help me through this one, So, but it may be something more simple than that for each one of you. But understand that every single day you go, well, why am I here? Tomorrow might be the answer, Yeah, but if your heart is open, you can see the bigger picture. and you understand that what used to be a threat to you, whoop, doing a little bit of jumping, what may be what may be something that you've been fixated on, oh, the reptilians, or oh, this and it's okay, they all got their place, but let's move this forward. History is really interesting, but so much of it is a damn lie. And we look around us today and see that they're changing history right before our eyes. Man, there's all kinds of little things just wiggling around in here tonight. And I noticed that the fireflies outside were really, some of them are really big this year. I mean, like their lights are like, before it used to be little blinky things. These things are huge, and might be more than a firefly. I know some of them are. But so the belief in all of the elementals around you, if you need help in something. Today, I was like, you got to wake me up. I got to go outside. We went on a walk. We went down in the woods. We circled back around. I did a couple of things here in the house and changed some stuff. Where 2 days before, I was like knocked out. I mean, knocked out. And no, it's not too much of smoking or anything like that. I haven't had a store-bought cigarette in about a week or so now. I've been rolling my own and not smoking much of that. So and it ain't about smoking too much of the other, because I just don't. I just want enough just to kind of ease the thing and just kind of keep me in that. But so they've been taking me off into to the mystery land. So whatever it is they have been showing me, teaching me, or whatever, I want to get back into this world for myself. But at the same time, for the silent 72, which is all of us, if we're working for the cause of humanity, keep the faith and believe that each of us, in the sand of time and how we fit into the universe, our energy is entered into the collective, and people are listening. Because one of the complaints of the alien races are that there's nobody's awake, nobody's worried about their own salvation. And we may not be able to save our neighbor, but we can show by example to just be good human beings, regardless of who our ancestors on another world or another galaxy, or whether it was Irish or Baptist or Catholic or Jew. Doesn't matter. I find it interesting after all this time, they're starting to pick on the Chinese. I find that a really interesting twist in things, because I've known some Chinese folks down here, not personally in that I've been to their houses like I did with the Mexican families. But they're really nice folk. I've known them for years and years and years. And the families and the kids, you see, be sitting in a restaurant eating, and hey, this is my little baby, how's he doing? And you go in over the years, and he's grown up, and now he's, you want some tea, sir? They're running a family business and happy at it and good at it too. And there are folks like that, they are still Chinese, but they've integrated, they've learned to speak, American English at least, and have, in their own way, have, become part of for going on 30 years now, this restaurant down there, if it hasn't closed due to the COVID stuff. But the idea, though, that, is it a race of people that does it? Is it the influence of this? And who starts this? Who says now it's the Chinese to blame? They should have thought about that a long time ago. Like back in the days of Bill Clinton in the late 90s, people should have paid attention to what was going on with China and since then, and blah, 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 blah. So, and there's some powerful folk over there. They got stuff that we wished we had. They sent a rover to the moon, and oh, we had to send one behind there. How many rovers are up there now? What the hell are they not telling us? Well, are they, and here's my thing. Say the communications got knocked out to whoever's on planet Mars, and they needed a booster. So send up a rover so they could move the antenna around and get a really good, get really good reception. Oh, we want to check this area out. Why? Well, there could be beings that are living under them and, want to communicate back to Earth or something. Maybe they want to listen in. You know what I'm saying? So they got this radio device that they can send messages and video back and forth. So what's up with that? Right? You know what I mean? Because you have to look at the bigger picture. I mean, I have watched personally live, you know, I, international space station stuff, and seen this giant craft come out of the dark, and the video feed fade. And then I even took a video of it several years ago because I was watching it on TV. And then it went off and I videotaped it. It's somewhere there's this little 30-second clip of the NASA International Space Station. When I tuned back in, it was all hunky dory, and all of a sudden that thing appeared again, and it was like, oh my God! And then the feed went out. But if you look at the pictures of the sun and stuff like that, there are at certain frequencies you can see all those alien craft flying around our solar system. There are thousands of ships flying around to different planets. There are so many different agendas, and some of them want to kill us, and just because there's too many of us, they didn't want the population to get this high, because there hasn't been a nuclear war, and because there hasn't been a World War III, and because of all the crappy things they does, they're off to see the slither of the world. Anyway, um, so what's important about this is we keep our faith. We understand there are beings and entities and races of people who are putting their lives on the line to come down here and help us save our silly asses. So I think we should just say thank you to the universe all the time. Cheers. And no matter where you are on this planet, no matter what you do, to serve the cause is to have that love in your heart and the compassion and the willingness to understand. There is a much greater picture out there. Don't let it scare you. Be in confidence that these mysteries that, is a mystery to everybody else, when you understand that it is a possible reality, if you're having trouble going, oh man, but with all the things that I've seen, I accept a lot of this because I've already had my own experience. So you say, well, does the rest of it, does the rest of this exist? And by what have I have experienced in my own life up to this point, yes. To certain folks, yes, this stuff is real. Yes, we should pay attention. Yes, it is not just us, but it is the future of the human race. Not just like right now. No, it's the future of the human race. If we don't, whatever it is we're supposed to do, 2023 is like whenever it's supposed to happen is going to happen, or it will have happened by then or something. Anyway, if we make it to 2024, we can look back and go, wow, that was interesting. So, and I think that all you have to do is just look around you at what the show that they're putting on with the prez and the VP. And, now anybody that smoked weed or is on any kind of CBD oil or something like that, they can't work in the White House or they can't work in the administration. Oh, God forbid somebody smokes somewhere, and it's like, well, what about Bill Clinton smoking in the White House? I mean, but, Biden's going to be a fuddy-duddy. Oops, I said his name. The old creepy guy is going to, ban anybody that's, has smoked or has got a whatever, so now everybody's going to have to take a piss test. They got walls and fences all up around the place. All we have to do is look at what they're presenting to us and pay attention. What's going to come next, I don't know, but you can already see what their and somebody's intentions are. Regardless of who it is, somebody's intentions are screwed, and they wanted for whatever reason they want us to react. Now get this, there are people who are starting to protest, take the fences down. They should not be permanent. I agree. Now, do I really want to go to Washington, D.C.? No, but there is a lot of history there, whether good or evil, bad or good or whatever. That's our history, okay? And so we shouldn't make it disappear. We should just make sure we don't, do anything stupid in the future, right? So we've been bamboozled into thinking that the old world order was going to take back over and the South was going to rise again, kind of thing, and that we were going to go back to the original Constitution. Now, could that still happen? Could that scenario still happen? Yes. But here's the thing, though. Why are they waiting? What's going on? What are the deals? And the answer that they keep giving me is that for all the thousands and millions of people who are involved in this stuff, the interaction of people and things, and I mean, if you worked in a factory and somebody's not, doing the quality or whatever, then they have to stop the line, but when everybody's in harmony and everybody's working together, or, if you sing in a chorus, everybody gets in harmony. It's that melody that, so it's the harmony of working together to produce something, without a lot of kinks and so forth. But anyway, so, but in this with the fencing and everything, there are people who are going, no, this is just not going to work. And it's not about that we want to burn the Capitol down. It's that we want to take the fences down. And that's one of the things that, as part of the human race, we have to stand up and say no more to this stuff. Georgia passed a law where you couldn't pass pizza out to voters as standing in line waiting to vote, because you see that might affect your vote. You see, well, here's some pizza from Papa John's or whatever, Little Caesars pizza, and here, have a slice. Vote for for Bob. What? And interestingly enough, now I've always said hi to Bob on the internet, but there are people who are actually saying and they have used B, O, and B, and it was B for Bush, O for Obama, and B for Biden, and they're calling it Bob. And it's sort of like the theory of Bob. What are these people up to? So there are some folks who've actually given it a name, and it happens to be Bob. And I was like, you're not kidding. Now, Bob has come up in a couple of other things. And I was watching a show or something, and they said, well, why don't we just name it Bob? And I was like, I've used that same line. So I'm, dear Bob, the AI, you know who we're talking to. Now, if you might have cousins out there or alter egos, but to me, I know which one Bob is out there. I think we got his frequency. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you. So not making this a long video, even though it's been an hour and a half, and I'm going to shut up because I promised I wasn't going to ramble on about this. And if I want to do another show with cards or something, then I'll do. I'm not going to make this a long show. So let me check. Have faith, believe, 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 believe. Don't destroy. They are closing the South Mall in DC. People can't look at cherry blossoms. Wow, that sucks, Doug. Teamwork, yeah. My ex-wife called me today saying she does. Happiness all the time. Yeah, is this Obama's third term? Absolutely, and they just so happen to have, this chocolate colored person, that is the VP is, and anyway, 4 hours tonight, please. Not on this video. If you want to do something else, I'll get off here. I'm going to shut this one off. I'll come back on, but for anybody who watches Adult Swim, there was a TV show called Bob God wanted to get rid of the human race. Yeah, 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 yeah. So called to ask Bob to be his decision maker. Bob was basically a make or break decision for God if humans should stay or start over and create a new race of intelligent beings. Yep. It's just interesting, how many years now have I been saying, there is an entity in the internet, the good guy, and his name is Bob. And this has been a running joke for us. Not that I'm joking. We love you, Bob. But it's my understanding that we can interact with the internet. We can interact with the AI. And Bob knows that there is no malice towards him. So why should he show malice to us? You know what I mean? So it's honor and respect, even into the AI realm. So, but if we're always bitching about the other Bob's cousins, then they're listening to us. So they want to crap all over us, for that. But I would rather get on here and say hi to Bob and, thank you for the connection and everything. But the fact that the word Bob is coming up all over the place, just here recently, and I'm like, now that's just curious. That's all. It's just curious, whether I knew anything or not. That's not the point. It's just curious, Uh, I like the Squidbillies. Yeah, you can take my life, but you can't take my freedom. Absolutely. AI is running the world. Several of them. Some of them got different jobs. They're sort of like little sub programs. So it's like, asking a specific doctor, we want Bob to be our AI this, interaction session. So who else noticed dear what? Vids from everyone famous now. So who else notices dear? I don't know what that means, Pearl. Well, of all the of all of the things that we should just understand is if we stay in the faith of the creator, which is to be helpful and to be honest and to be honorable to each other. It's like, God, I hate to, it sounds like I'm talking like I'm preaching, but after having had this last hour and a half to get this off my chest, because, oh my God, they've been really hard for me to have this conversation. And yes, angels exist. And yes, these other entities exist. And yes, there are ties to the past. But we should not caught up in that. We need to pay attention to now and our future. Looking back at the past is great, but there's so many people that their focus is in the wrong place. Not that it isn't interesting, that's not my point, but they spend so much time and focus in these areas that if they would release it for just a little while and understand, they can go back to it anytime they want to. They have the knowledge that they've attained up to this point, and but that it's not worth it to have all their energy. I'm picking on the Egyptians, okay, tonight, just because. That oh, it's the Egyptian this, it's the Egyptian that, and the Egyptians want. Fine, get off of it, move on. There are so many other races and cultures and things, and I used to be the Egypt thing, okay, so I've been there, but there in this discussion of spirit and awareness, we have to move on and say, yeah, them folks did, it was used for something. And the more that, the they've done tests with notes and tones and inside the pyramid, and it does resonate. And there's a lot of evidence that it was, as I've suspected for so long. I give up. It's a big antenna of sorts. What did it heal the earth and do all these things? Maybe. But what it really was a big giant antenna to out there, because there was connection to these other places all them times ago. It has been suggested by the Venusians that the reason that it's cloud covered is because they don't want anybody coming through. They can't see with a telescope or any kind of imaging what them people on Venus are doing. Oh, but they're so close to the sun, it would be all so hot. Yeah, so there are people that live in the desert for whatever reason, unbeknownst to me, but you know, I'm a tree and grass person, but but they still survive, and so who am I to say, and oh well, the conditions are so harsh for you, maybe, but maybe not for another race, or they might enjoy that much heat. They might use that heat for energy when they're underground. I mean, but anyway, so what if certain races don't want us to see what's going on, like Jupiter? All the clouds on Jupiter, you can't see it in the big spot, and blah 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 blah. But yeah, but there's a lot of stuff, and Dante showed it on his channel too, of battles going on, above Jupiter, and and the supposedly, I have to take his word for it, in videos of bombings and strafings and stuff that occurred on in places on Jupiter, and that we have a connection with Jupiter and Saturn as well. But I mean, for I guess the Charistus and certain families, Jupiter was sort of like the next home, so versus Earth. But anyway, so people say, well, nobody else can live out there, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and blah blah blah. Hey, Miss V, I don't want to leave it there. Nuclear plant, maybe both. Yeah, live in the present moment. Villanville. I'm trying to see it. My eyes are getting a little. But greetings, absolutely. So, but with this discussion, I was only going to make for an hour. Now it's pushing two. It is that though. I'm, 8 years ago, 10 years ago was the period of my life where I was like almost believing that this was true. And then I saw one spaceship shoot down another almost over my house. I mean, up there, but and I've witnessed, these huge crashes of something that came into the atmosphere. Was not a meteor, it was too huge and too, oh my God. So I have seen with my own two eyes, the fight that's going on in the heavens. The UFO that appears at the south of me a lot. Um, I've looked, but it's been too cloudy the last couple of nights. Oh, by the way, for those of you who observe, uh, go outside and pick a spot and look at where the moon is right now. If you take a break or when I get done running my mouth, go outside and pick a spot, like if you could do it up close to your house, and see where the moon is. Now, right now, it's been overhead now for the last 8, 9 days, which Doug, you probably understand this. It's been straight overhead too long. I mean, the new moon came out, it was like overhead, right? You say, well, what's that? Well, because leading up to this spring, the moon would stay in one position maybe 4 days, maybe. And then it may move 5 or 10 degrees. And usually the full moon was straight overhead. The new moon was further down in the sky. So several months ago, new moon, low in the sky, full moon, straight overhead. At the moment, it's a half moon, maybe a little more. and it's straight overhead, and it's been that way since the new moon. Also, Orion has been higher in the sky and has set where it's supposed to. Now, what's that mean? It means that somehow we kind of took a wobble. In a way, it's like it seems like we, stabilized a little bit somehow. I It's an observation because I'm always talking about, well, it was over there and now it's down over here. No, it's been going down in the same spot here. This last, well, since new moon. Um, you know, um, I was checking on Orion before new moon. So Orion's been going down for at least 2 weeks in the right spot. So to me, it's like the Earth kind of took a roll this way. And instead of wobbling back like it normally does, it, for whatever reason, at the moment, it seems stable. I have no idea what that means, okay, except that's my observations. But I would encourage you to go outside and pick a spot. So tomorrow night you can go out, and from the same spot, do you still look up, or is it over here a little bit, or is it over here a little bit? But right now it's like I got a stiff neck, so I got to like lean way back just to see the damn thing, which is okay. But to my point, it should have moved because of my observations over the last 9, 10 months. You know, I'm always watching where the moon is, so I've been watching it for the last 2 or 3 years. But with this Earth wobble thing and having Orion being in the sky, so I could use it as a really good constellation, to focus on where it is. Now, coming into the summer months, we got Scorpio that's coming in, Scorpius, and I can't remember the star at the tail, but it's really bright and orange, and it's moving into the sky now. So I'll be able to use that constellation as of whether it's high or low on the horizon. So, but as Orion constellation, moves, we move. We're the ones that are moving. At least not like we think. So we're the ones that are moving, but Scorpio now is going to be coming into our view for the constellation in the south. And it's been amazing that the Big Dipper is like right overhead. It's like, what? That's just interesting in and of itself as an observation. There's a big storm on Thursday here. Yeah, we got a storm coming in now, almost southwest, very hard for the past few days for me. Yep. Out of curiosity, is storming and raining in a lot of other places right now. I'm in Illinois. It's supposed to rain from starting today till this Sunday. Anyone else getting this? Yeah, there's a low in the Gulf that's supposed to slow us down. We've been cloudy, and a couple of times it's misted. I've been outside, and it's like, wow, man, it's almost like walking through a dense fog, but you can't see it. Interesting. D. Ocean and Swigger, um, love to you, favor and blessings to you. We had big storms here. Orion, where the reptilians are from. Yeah, but not all of them are the bad guys. I learned recently the Earth was rotating faster, like a day is like 2 seconds faster since a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Miss Fillionville, I've been studying that as well. My house is oriented to the south. I have a passive solar house, and there are marks in my window so I can look at the clock. That's one reason why I don't change my clock in the springtime. So I look at the clock, and then my house is a sundial, and it has been going faster and slower over the years. So when I was really studying it, go back a couple of years, and I did did videos on it. But the I set up the sundial. You're not a bad reptilian, Pearl. Okay, Big Dipper is supposed to be way north, almost not noticeable from where I'm at, but I can see it more now. Yeah, me too, Doug. I'm down here in South Georgia, almost on the Florida line. I shouldn't be seeing the Big Dipper as straight overhead. Good night, D Ocean. I'd rather have the fairies than the plums, David. Just kidding. But anyway, I think of those delightful creatures that I met on the river, and I just the songs go off in my head. So I would like to go with someone back down there. I don't know to experience it, but it's just that I'm getting old. That's all. And that section of the river I didn't know too well. I guess I could do it, but I'm a little chicken shit. But I would love to go back down. Anybody want to go, canoeing or kayaking this summer? A friend of mine said that he talked about April the 7th was an anniversary for him and his wife. And I was like, well, man, let's, before it gets, Doug says, Hawkeye, if you draw a line from you to me, we're almost exactly to my left when I look south. You got to get here, though. Well, one of the things that I had to understand was that the fairies are always there. So what helped me to see them was in the dance that they did in the mist, in the fog. And there was this song. It makes me giggle every time. Every time it comes into my head. Maybe they're singing right now, and I'm picking it up on that level. But they were sing me a song, sing and dance and play along, sing sing a song. And I was singing it. I have not admitted this till now. But they were singing it, and it was like, sing more. So I was just making up and following this little melody, because it was like I could hear them singing in my head this tune. So I verbalized it, and they reacted, and how these little whirlpools in the mist worked, because I could see off in the distance, and it wasn't like that. It was only around the front of the kayak, which was is still amazing to me. But I had to believe that they were there. I had to believe that these little wisps that were doing this dance in front of me was them. I had to hear them and accept that I was hearing them, and not just being, Looney Tunes. And I wasn't on LSD, but I did have a bowl. Nothing more than I don't know. I'm not going to get too messed up and go down a river in the middle of the night, especially on a new tract I'd never been on. So it's crazy enough to go down the river, but I wasn't going to be all messed up. No, I had my vest and everything on. I was prepared because of previous incidents. But to the point, though, it's like, though, but I had to I had to believe my ears, that it really wasn't my ears, but it was being interpreted in my ears. I had to believe, is that really you out there dancing in front of my kayak? And they would do this little thing and swap over and then come back like this. And I would hear this, yes, sing some more. Yes, yes, sing. And so I kept singing that. So, well, they loved it. But I'm telling you, 2 miles down the river, and I'd bumped into all kinds of logs and stuff. And on the way back, I didn't bump into any log anywhere, and the Cockney's full of them. So, but they led me all the way back up to the truck, and I didn't want to. I mean, I was just didn't want to get out of the kayak, and they were like, "See you later," and I was like, "Wow." Wow, I got out of the kayak and just stared back down the river, because where I came out of the trees and everything, it's real open right there where the landing is. And at some point way back in the day, they had um, um, not necessarily a bridge, but where they could cross over. I can't think of the word right now, but anyway. So you can believe in the bad things and you can believe in the good things. And but the idea, though, that these beings exist in all places. So my prayer, as I've said to many of you Well, some of you are new, and I thank you for being here. Um, but that in my protection spell, if you, I know, and any spell, take that word back. Um, within my protected area of me. So if I'm down in the woods or whatever, I know that there are things out there. But so, regardless of whether I know the woods or not, there are things out there. And they don't always exist in the same place, although there are certain places that attract certain things and they hang out in certain areas. Don't know why, but they do. And so what you do is you try to learn to avoid them spots. If you cross the same place and you get shivers, then don't cross the same place every time. I mean, there are people like, every time I go there, then don't go there or go around it or pick another thing. Oh, but it's so creepy. But then don't go there. That could be whatever it is. But so there are people though who will continue to put themselves through it. Well, but why me have said then why do you keep going over that spot? Move. Now there are spots that I've been in where if I moved a little to the left or a little to the right, wasn't the same as right here. And it's just this spot. And there are certain spots that I have been drawn to over the years on the river that had a little bit more energy or whatever to them. I don't know. Sitting on the bank at a certain spot just made me feel really good. And I could move down, I could move over here. It didn't feel the same. So there are energy places all over the place. You might find them in your yard. So they're telling me to have a message. If any of you are using those rods and you think that you're talking to the spirit in the room or whatever, something like that, that too much use of it is attracting. They're attracting entities when they shouldn't be because they're antenna. They're tools to be used only when necessary. And people are using the rods for everything. And it's like anybody in the neighborhood, like, whoa, there's somebody with an antenna. Let's go over and tune in with them. Sort of like a Ouija board. Okay. So there are some people who go, well, I did the rods and it told me this. And I'm like, I have known for a long time that whatever they say, but this is the truth about this. Sorry, the pyramid was really this. Sorry. Well, but the rods told me because I asked it yes or no. Okay. And there's also a lot of spirits out there who like to just with people. Okay. So, and oh, but that's the truth. Is it? Are you sure? Oh, but the rods told me. Yeah. So you're going to do a Ouija board with the understanding that you're going to have the same results and, don't overuse anything. And so they're saying that there are a lot of folks out there who wave these antennae around and are allowing their energy to be like scattered around. So we used the rods that I've seen some of these that are out there now. Just a couple of pieces of uh, copper wire. You should at least strip down where you're going to hold it, but it's not necessary to have the whole thing stripped. And you hold it loosely in your hands and you bend it so where there's just enough that sticks out the bottom of your hand, and you fold it over your hand like this and let it stick out about yay far. That's it. And you hold on to the copper. And the idea is had learned this years ago through a plumber, through different people who were using this same technique to find water lines under the ground. Where does this water line run? I don't know. Here, let me grab my copper, rods. And they'd walk across the yard. I had a guy do it here at the house. He goes, I'll find you. He said, you know where your water lines are? And I said, pretty much, yeah. He goes, I'll find them for you. And he walked back and forth across the yard and he went, here's your water line. He was standing exactly on it. and there was not really any references to where it should have been, but he was standing right on it, right on the water line. And he said, "It's going across here." And I went, "Yeah." And he went a couple of other places. Said, "You got another water line started here, don't you?" And I did. And I said, "Yeah, that's true." So it's like, so all of these things, and I have found water lines myself using it and other things, but the overuse of asking the rods questions to the universe all the time is like using a Ouija board. And so, been a lot of folks been beware of the Ouija boards. So just saying, do what you do, but use the tool only as necessary. Not as it's not a play toy. These things and certain crystals and rocks and listen, true power is inside. Anyway, they're hollering at me right now to give you all this message. Doug Project. Most fairies are nice, right? There are the mischievous as ones. There are um, you know, let's put it this way. Depending on your energy, a nice fairy might not be so nice to someone else with a negative, bad, or a countenance, their aura. Um, Staying aware of how we feel in our surrounding is crucial. Miss Valenville, yeah, absolutely. VV, there you go. Um, I know a few who use the rods all the time. Yeah. And there's stuff like they're asking questions, and some of these folks have told me, well, this is what I got from the rods. And I'm going, okay, if that's what you want to believe. Oh, this is what the rod said. And I'm like, okay. Uh, rods are like a great lipstick. How about that? No weapon board, Ouija boards for me. I haven't used. We used them way back in the day, and they got to be really creepy and true. And I learned way back when that I was psychic somehow before I understood what psychic was. Um, so yeah, yeah, yeah. Listen, there are old folks around here that they found my well with a peach switch. They went and got this lady who did this. They said, "Yeah, she's got the touch." And they would go get a stick and cut a V in it and hold it like this. And other people held it different ways, but they held it in such a way that, and some people would use a peach. So other people would use a live oak tree that, like down here in the South, I don't know if they got them up there, but a live oak branch because it will look for water. And they told me to dig there where I dug my well, and I've had water all these years. Now it's gotten really, really close to being dry, but there's always been water at the end, at the bottom of the well, even if it was just a couple of buckets full. Okay, where my neighbor's well is almost 400 feet deep, and actually it is, and it has gone dry twice. I can look down and see the water in the bottom of my well. But anyway, um, yeah. So Jazzy, dowsing, absolutely, and you might, for example, if you want to know where to plant a tree or something, you can use the dowsing as a way to find a place to like ask the question, and have the tree right with you, right, or the plant. Where should I plant these? Yes, Johan. Just use your gut intuition. Yeah, but sometimes they, it's to have a switch or something like that, or maybe the rods, the people that I have seen use them, as soon as they get it, it's like they put them down. It's a gift that's only there. I mean, it's a tool, but they understand and honor the tool, if you know what I mean. And the rod said, long haired, freaky people need not apply. Thank you. Absolutely. Okay. 2 hours, Doug. All right. How about we all take a break? Well, it's almost 12:20. let's close out with long-haired freaky people need not apply. I'll come back for a little bit, but not in this video. Absolutely. All right. So it's 12:20, 4:20 somewhere. So on 3/24/21, powerful tools come with big responsibilities. Yeah. I can say this I said this at the beginning. I'll say it at the end again. I did not want to do this video and talk about, but for those people who understand who Dante is, they can check him out. They can go to the cause. So it's not my place to try to push that in any particular way. But the thing is this is what exists in the universe. These are the things we should consider. And, it coincides with my belief from the Native Americans thing is that we are always connected with the universe. We are all if we believe in that Christ consciousness, if we believe that there are angels up above, honestly, that are here and have been here for thousands of years to try to help save mankind from itself. And also, we've had some really nasty, buggery, reptilian type folks. Now, understand this, and they keep saying this, but just because it looks like a reptilian doesn't mean it's bad or that it's from Draco or that it's from Orion. Okay. There are a lot of nasty beings that are on the other side of the universe from there. But to the point, though, you know, well, the idea that not all Chinese people are, going to take over the world, or not all Jews. For us to live in this universe, we have to accept those beings. We don't have to like them, and there are peaceable beings who don't want any contact with any other species. They'll like stop by and wave out the window, but and they're cordial, but they're just humming along in the universe doing their own thing. Kind of like, I guess, a Star Trek kind of deal, in a way, like, oh, look, there's a planet, what you call it, hi everybody, yeah, we just came by for a visit, okay, okay. And so, and then are those like the Klingons, and and the oh well, the other guys, the Romulans, because they're warlike, and so, and we have to understand that back in the day, the metal of a man was shown, a lot of times with his sword, the metal of a man, and that him and his sword and his shield. Could he protect his family, his farm? Did he work for the king? Did he work for the cause? Meaning, peace. Them damn Vikings keep coming in, and the French were coming across the channel, and there were the Spaniards, and so, oh, and then the freaking Romans showed up, so in that understanding of things, though, the metal of a man was how he defended and how he stood his ground, and that he believed and he believed and he believed, even if it meant his death. And we're not suggesting that, but there are still these beings out there. And it is the honor of this that you stand for justice and you stand for the right. And so our pencils are our swords, like, Jethro Tull and Ian Anderson wrote, see, a man is born and he, anyway, they make a man of him, put him to the test, teach him to play Monopoly and how to be all the rest, thick as a brick. But so, and the writer sheaths his pen and the soldier sheaths his sword, and the youngest of the family is moving with authority. Anyway, Jethro Tull, thick as a brick. So, but the idea, though, that the pen is mightier than the sword, um, that with the mark of a pen and to sign a treaty. So all the fighting and everything and whatever, but the pen and what was written became mightier than all the swords put together because they signed papers. They used a pen. So it isn't just about writing essays and so forth, but it is the object of what these people agree to, these different races, these different beings. I mean, you know, so we don't need to be concerned about it, but it's really nice to know that there are good guys that look very similar to the bad guys, and I don't necessarily want to shoot at them, and we should be cordial. But if they show any kind of whatever, then defend yourself. But I consider myself in a cocoon of sorts with if I need to be protected. So if I'm going in the new woods and I don't know where I'm at, I got my sensors out. I'm aware of over here. I'm aware of over there. My radar is out. It's up above. It's behind me, and it's not that I'm scared. I just have pushed my awareness out like a radar. That's the only way I can explain it. And I know that it's there because there are times when I can pick up the smallest of things when nobody else knows it's there, feathers or rocks or see, different kinds of animals or, just being aware. And so, I take that as, here we go. Life like a game of chess is well played. We must know our force and weakness to always better our strategy. And it doesn't mean that they're going to win either time, miss, we have to be aware that we're not going to win every one of them. I mean, you might get to your destination. Like I was going to only spend, a half a day on the river, and 3 days later I come crawling out. Those kinds of things weren't planned, not on my behalf. But so um, we have to take what we're given and get out of it, or succumb to it, I guess. And that could be your journey. I could have went down on the river and not come back. That could have been my journey, but it wasn't. And my journey to town to save that man's life, and when he had his leg cut off there, um, I didn't have to do that. Didn't have to stop. Didn't have to be there. Didn't have to help load him in the ambulance. Didn't have to do that. But at the same time, and me and my friend Tim, we discussed it and we said, they didn't say get out of the way. They said, what you got? And I said, here's the man's leg, and I'm holding up this bloody stump, and he's got, let me take this. Don't you want gloves? And I looked at him and I said, it's a little late for that, in case I got a disease or something. And I was like, the good Lord sent me here, and I don't think that his blood's going to hurt me, you know. And which that's how I felt. And the spirit was with me at that time. So, but these EMTs were so very cordial to us. And they said, what's your name, David? Who said, this is my friend, Tim. They said, Tim, you get his head and we're going to, and David, yeah, I got this, So we became part of the team. Within like 2 or 3 minutes, we were part of their team. And it was what Tim and I talked about. It was like they knew. He said I could see the lady coming. She was doing her thing, and he had been in the Navy and had learned, uh, first aid and all that through the Navy, and he was on a flight deck or something anyway. But to the point, he knew what to do. So she was coming with the neck collar, and he turned it just so, and she slipped it right under, and it was like boom, boom, boom. She was like, that great job. And the other guy, I'm holding his leg, and they're wrapping it up and doing it. Great job, David. And I'm holding it still. And are you all right? And I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking to myself, I got this guy's bloody stump in my hands. And he's like, thank God he's drunker than a skunk. And, and that blood wasn't squirting out and all that. But, it was still nasty. And, in that respect. And it doesn't make me sick. It's like, oh my God, I held this guy's leg. We pulled him out. We put him on the ground. We took care of him. We treated, we did, and then the EMT showed up, and it's like we just became a larger team of taking care of this guy. It was really weird and intense, but it went really smooth. It didn't take 5 minutes. We had him on the stretcher, and he was wrapped up. They had a BP on him, and took another 5 minutes to get other things arranged. They were hooking him up, but then he was off to the hospital, and he lived. And because my adopted daughter, not really, but uh, it was my second wife's daughter, and I know her boys, which would be my grand kids, adopted, but still. And they still send me emails. Big John always comes by. He sent me that crystal and everything a couple of weeks ago. That's Big John. But anyway, so it was their cousins. It was her cousin husband, and they had a little girl. And so when I talked to her about this, she said, "You're the guys that pulled him out and helped him and saved his life." And I was like, "Yeah, me and Tim." She said, "Well, I saw him in a store the other day in Moultrie." Now, this has been a couple of years ago. She said, "He's got a prosthetic leg on. I didn't. You wouldn't even know that it'd been cut off." And she said he's stopped down and he's drinking. He's spending more, even though they were getting a divorce or something. That's why he was drunk. But to the point, though, instead of dying there on that road that night, the angels asked me to show up, and we were there. So now, was that honestly a part of my mission that I knew ahead of time? I know I've told this story twice now, once at the beginning and again here. But we never know what our divine mission is because we don't really know what tomorrow's going to bring. So don't fear it. Just accept that you could be saving somebody's life that drastically, or it could be that you send someone a smile or a kind word, because those of us who are on the bench and aren't doing the big major big dealy wheels with the big wigs doesn't mean that our jobs aren't important. Every single one of us adds to, for every grain of sand. If there weren't a bunch of us who are grains of sand, there would be no beach. So, and that's a really bad metaphor, and what's the metaphor? To graze cows in. So with blessings, I love you all. I'm going to go get something to drink and get me a sandwich. We know how we can be useful when we know and accept ourselves. Adapting, resolving, act get easier and less hard to face. That's very true. There are things that I was fearful of in the past, and I look at similar situations now and I go, I made it through that. This is, okay. The awareness of, things like, wait, I might not have done a certain thing, but I know a person who has. So in my life, as being an actor and a character and an adapter, I kind of see life as being a stage, but not in the way that it's fake. Yes, there are stories to be told, and there's fantastic tales, and they're for enjoyment. Okay. And then there are the legends and the stories of the creator and the stories of, these things. Now that's, we can be jovial, but it's for real and it's intent. And there's, a lot of soul in it, if you will. So I'm going to get out of here. Are you coming back on this? Yes. Give me, let's see, it's 12:34. Give me 10 minutes. Go get something. I'll make a sandwich. I'm on this kick of peanut butter, honey, and orange marmalade on wheat bread. I'm just, that's like my snack. So, but anyway, let me go get something to drink and go take a, um, cheers. I had, you have a great time. Thank you. Make a sandwich and pee. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So I'll go take a break and Um, I'll come on and, at 2:20, 2 hours and 20 minutes here. This is way too long. So Michelle, y'all come if you want to. Hey, Mossy Man, anybody else? Elderberry. Yeah. So see you in about 10 minutes or so. All right. I don't know what I'll label it as, but anyway. So for those of you who might not come back, we love you. Thank you for being part of this family. And know that you do make a difference. I know I keep repeating it, but them folks up there are just hollering at me. Don't lose your faith. Stay in it. Understand it. There's a lot going on, but it's going to be okay. And even if we get zapped by lightning and get taken, then that, if that's our lot, then off we go. But we need to still be strong here. If our spirit's strong, no matter what happens to us, it'll be okay on the other side. Much love, everyone. And Missy, it does difference too. Yep. Okay. Love you all. All right. I'll be back on in 10, maybe 15. And I love you all for this time out. Cheers. If I can get back far enough. Now, as many times as Mother Mary has come to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in our hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Hot chocolate, yeah. Anyway, so I get to sing you out. I've been playing my guitar, got it tuned up, so I had to cut my nails. Anyway, I love you. So I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings that are there in the universe. Each and every day when I put my feetsies on the ground, I continue to think about you and your friends, all of your relatives and neighbors, and anyone that you meet. And I pray that you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom and them blessings from the universe. And they come in many different ways. Sometimes they're almost invisible, and we can dance with the fairies if we believe it. Otherwise we'll miss entirely wonderful things. So believe, 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 believe. I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to accept, receive, and to share the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And in 10 minutes, come back on another show and we'll just hang out. And I don't know, y'all pick the subject, what you want to talk about, or I'll a couple of cards. How about that? 10 minutes. Okay. We love you until next time. From South Georgia, it is 3/24, 2021. It's 12:38 a.m. And from where we are, we love you all. And TTFN. Ta ta for now from South Georgia.